Hello everyone and welcome for this new video. In this episode I'm gonna just give you an official tour of my new studio. Okay, here we are. So instead of just showing you around, I think I'm gonna just show you the place and stop to talk about my top 5 tips and tricks of the things that I've learned over the years setting up in different places, things that are kind of useful when you want to set up a painting studio, because just showing you around is not going to allow you to learn much. Just the curiosity, it's pretty cool, but every place is different. So I'm gonna try to talk about 5 key principles to keep in mind when you want to create your own setup depending on the place that you have. So first, this is the place where I spend most of my time, where I paint with my table palette here. Also very important, follow me, is here, which is my desk with my computer. Remember that I do spend a lot of time working on my computer. So that's still a pretty important element. Behind, just facing my canvas, is a cool place to hang out and sit down and look at my painting from a distance, which is pretty cool. I also have this big mirror. I'm going to talk about this. It's a key part of the studio. I have an extra room here, which is where I keep all the mess, all my tools, and where I do all the messy stuff. There's also a shower and toilets there. And finally, it's not that big, but it's big enough for the paintings that I want to make, at least now. And up there in the mezzanine is extra space for the canvases that I keep here. So the big canvases will have a much better place. For the moment, only the small ones have racks to keep them in order, but pretty soon I'm going to reorganize this. Alright, so that's basically it for the tour. But now I'm going to talk about the 5 key principles that I've learned over the years in the various places in which I have painted. The number 1 is the light. Give the priority to the light source in your studio. So right here you can see that I have a very nice skylight in this place. The only problem is it's not oriented north. And the problem with when it's not oriented north is that sometimes you have direct sunlight, and in the afternoon it actually hits directly in my on my canvas, which is not great. Plus, if you know me, I'm somebody who likes to work very late at night, and of course during the night you can't use this glorious natural light, which means that I have invented a system, these 4 neon bulbs. So I'm going to pull all the curtains so that no light from the outside can come in, and there you go. So right now it's only artificial light, and it's still very workable, it's still very pleasant, still very luminous, which is pretty cool. This is exactly the type of light that you want, and this system allows me to, when it's winter, when the weather outside is really gray, or when it's late at night, I can still paint like if it's daylight. When you get your light source, try to get it around 5000 kelvins. You also need something pretty powerful, and as high up as you can, basically, you should do that. Try to avoid having a light source, they have clip-on systems that you can just attach to the easel or directly on top of the canvas. Generally, it's not working great. Don't have a small yellow lamp just right next to your canvas. It's not going to be very good. It's going to be very disturbing in terms of light. Try to get as many lumens as you can to have something very even, not too yellow, not too blue. The second thing that I've learned is how to avoid glare. And avoiding glare is the reason why most of my walls are painted in this dark gray. The curtains are dark gray, and every time I can, I try to have something either black or dark gray, something that's at least not white and not any specific color which is going to disturb me in terms of color around me. The thing is, oil paintings are glossy surfaces, so think of them as mirrors. You want to avoid to have a light source directly in the reflection of this mirror. Right here you can see a light here, so whenever I'm painting, if I don't want to have glare, I need to go here and turn this one off. This is the only way to avoid the glare. Right now, if I look at my canvas again, it's dark, so it's not going to create those annoying glares that you sometimes have at the surface of a painting. This is a key element. I mean, a lot of people think that an art studio has to be super bright and painted in white. It's not necessarily true if you work with surfaces that are very reflective and very glossy, shiny. Like oil painting is like this. You want to have something that limits the amount of glare around you. If you work with acrylics, because it's very matte and dries very matte, you don't necessarily need the same type of setup, but for oil painting, it's a good idea to have your walls that at least not too white and not too bright, and to avoid to have light sources behind your back. There are some ways to calculate with the angle, with your height, depending on how high your canvas is, to avoid any type of glare. But I think the easiest option is still to take a piece of mirror and see if there's anything white or reflective or a bright light source in the reflection. Number 3 crucial part of my studio is my table palette. I love this table palette with the glass surface. It's so easy to clean. I can put any color behind there as I want. Right here, it's a neutral gray, which is something that I really like, but if you want bright red, white, or anything, you can put it behind there and it's going to be pretty cool. I have everything I need here, my mediums. Here's where I put all my brushes, my paint, my box with mineral spirits. I really recommend a small table palette like this one. Even if you use an arm palette like as a complement, you put this on wheels, you can take it anywhere. It's so easy to clean. You don't have to hold it all the time like you do for an arm palette. Number 4, mirrors. Mirrors, I'm an addict, a mirror addict. Actually, I started painting before I had the mirrors, and yeah, I was always checking behind my back, but there was nothing. It was very disturbing. It's really become a habit, and I think it should be, because it forces your brain to see a reflected image of your work and forces your brain out of its zone of comfort. So I really do recommend that you put as many mirrors as you want. So I have one here, a tiny one here, and I also have a big one here that I have installed with a system that I can put it higher, lower, I can raise it, or I can adjust the angle with these small feet right here. Sort of a tripod system that I use to adjust the angle. So if I move or if my canvas moves, I can always readjust the angle. And number 5, which is I think one of the key things that I've learned, is try to have something flexible that you can move around and don't have things all over the place. Try to put all the small things in boxes and put them as far away as you can to give yourself some room. Right here I have this huge space where I can move around. Maybe you don't have the same space. I know how it feels, because before that I didn't have a lot of space to paint in, and I was very limited in terms of room. But I had this, I've learned at least to put everything in boxes and to really make sure that everything has a place. Right here is where I put all my cleaning stuff. Right here is where I put all my masking tape, my acrylic stuff. Right here is where I put all my drawing tools, at least a part of my drawing tools. Yeah, it used to be an annex house that the previous owners used to rent. So this house is pretty independent from the main house. This is where I put all my preparation, the gesso, everything like this. Here I put some types of containers. Here are some rags, everything in boxes, so that you have free space for the rest of your studio. And here is where I have all my mediums, oils, solvent, the paint, everything I have here in stock is in there, out of reach from my son. And here's where I put all my video equipment. Up there, as far away from my canvas, is all my paper stuff, the plein air gear, my casts up there. So yeah, the goal was really to have as much free space as possible right here. So, because yeah, right now it looks pretty fresh and new, and I don't have a lot of things actually set up, but I know that it's not going to last. Everything here is going to be filled. And at some point, I can tell you that it is going to look crowded and messy. Right now, I don't have a lot of stuff because I've only been focusing on just getting my painting stuff out there, and everything looks very tidy, but it's not going to stay like this for a long time. But as long as I can keep this big space to paint, I mean, I'm going to be fine. Yeah, so I think this is important. Even if you have a small studio, it was actually in my very small previous studio that I've learned how to preserve the roaming space, to just walk around, and I actually paint standing up, so I do move a lot. I recommend that you stand up as well if you want to explore all the entire gesture of your body. You don't paint just with your fingers, you paint with your entire body, and if you stand up, you really feel that. So I don't know exactly how your space is organized, how much space you have, but the most important is to create a space that looks like you, that you feel comfortable in, and that you enjoy being in. And yeah, think about the key things. The light first is the light. The most important thing is the light source. Where does your light come from? How do you control it? And once you feel comfortable with the light source, it's going to be fine. Next is avoid any type of annoyance. For me, it's the glare, so this is why I painted this in gray. Next is get a nice workstation, table, palette, whatever you use, so that you can easily reach everything you need and have everything at your disposal. Put mirrors around you. I think it's a very important thing. And the final thing is make sure that all the tiny things are in boxes, and make sure that your space is flexible, adaptable, and that you can move things around if needed. If you find a new passion for sculpting, that you can reorganize the space for sculpting, or whatever you might feel like doing. Alright, so that's it for the tour. I'm super happy to be in this place. It's going to be great to paint here. Really excited to start painting again and come back to doing more tutorials on YouTube. It's going to be back during the summer, and maybe come back to a more regular schedule on YouTube, and yeah, back to painting as well. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all my patrons on Patreon. The support is absolutely amazing, and I can't thank you enough. You can check out my oil painting course if you want. The link is in the description box. That's it for this tour, and I'll see you for the next video. Until then, have fun painting and have fun drawing. Bye.